All right, good afternoon. It is exactly 32 minutes down to 12. Welcome back to the Midday Show. Right now, we're about to kick off with parenting today. If you want to be an amazing parent, if you want to find out how you can do better at parenting, we know no one is perfect, but there is always room for improvement. Perhaps you have tried certain things and you felt discouraged. The good news is we have parenting today on here, which would help to guide you and, provide you with the much needed knowledge as regards being a great parent. Now, speaking of parenting, it is a never ending job. If you were to raise your kids properly, guess what? They turn out to be wonderful, formidable adults who would contribute positively to society. Welcome back. Still your number one talk radio station on the planet, Lagos Talks 91.3. My name is Paula Chine. And I have a couple of guests here. Now I have someone who is amazing, and not just because, of course, we are all parents at heart, but she is someone who is passionate about children. More so, she's passionate about helping them to become the best version of themselves. She's passionate about STEM and equips children with the much needed skills for their future. I'm talking about Mrs. Jade Adedeji, the founder of STEM Mets. Hi, Mrs. Jade. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Wow, I'm so excited. The introduction was making my head swell. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? It is amazing to have you on here. Thank you for joining us virtually. Thank you so much. Now, to be very honest, I am quite intrigued. I really want to know much. Now, I know that for those who are just tuning in, let me take you a little bit before I let Mrs. Jade take over completely. Now, STEM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and math. And we know that these four fields are, fields that share an emphasis on innovation, problem solving, and critical thinking. Just before we go on, Mrs. Jade, when I saw that you were going to be on the show, I was excited because growing up, even till date, I have a phobia for math and sciences. And I just felt like probably I wasn't born with the brain for it. And, having siblings that excel at that, I just felt like perhaps if I knew about this early on, maybe I could have turned out better. Do you think that could have happened? Do you think that's true?
Well, I'm sorry you feel like that. And I can tell you that there's no such thing as not having a brain for science or math. Okay. So let me just give you that heads up. And secondly, you're right in thinking that, and it's easy to think that. Again, it goes on to how we were taught these subjects, in school, the methods used. And to be honest, I'm a scientist, and I can say that I also had a phobia for math until actually into my adult life. When I had gone through school, I did sciences, I became a pharmacist, I was practicing as a pharmacy, and it was one crucial pharmacy exam I think I was doing in Canada. And I'm ashamed to say that was really the first time I understood certain mathematical concepts. Can you imagine? Because at the time I had just I grew up with cramming and regurgitating in the early, days of learning, foundational years, which are critical. And that carried me through until it was unpacked for me in a way and logic that I could understand. So that is why I fell in love with STEM education, to be honest, because I think it provides a way to use innovation and creativity in trying to teach these subjects to children.
Now, thank you for, taking the time to enlighten us. For parents who are listening, or just individuals who, you might not be a parent now, however, we all are parents at heart. You might be a guardian or grandparent. This is for you. So listen up. We know that the kids are currently going back to school, or rather they're back in school, and a lot of them are moving to new classes. Some of them might be encountering new levels of, would I say sciences and technology. But I want to ask Mrs. Jade, what is different from, anyone who's hoping to go to explore the arts from someone who is more STEM inclined, which is science, technology, engineering, and math? What would you say is the the difference? Because it seems like when it comes to STEM in the educational system, it helps to enhance critical thinking, problem-solving ability. So what really is the difference?
Well, to be honest with you, STEM isn't just for science students. And I say that because, yes, I say that because there are certain skills that the STEM concept teaches, and you touched on them already.
Okay.
Critical thinking, problem solving, ability to analyze, communication skills, collaboration skills. So really, the crux of the matter is that this STEM way of learning and teaching enhances those skills. And those skills are transferable, whether you are arts, science, or whatever. Those are essential basic skills, in addition to the knowledge and the theory that the children are acquiring. But those skills are essential. They're essential because they are the building blocks really of future problem solvers. So whether you're a lawyer, whether you're an artist or whatever, I think you'll agree that you need all those skills, regardless of whether you're a science or an art student. And so that's what we tell our parents when they come to our programs. When they say, oh no, my child is more arty and they're not really sciencey, we're like, fantastic, come. At this age, which is why we promote early introduction, at this age, the children, they just want to learn and have fun. Wow. And so it's really the materials and the tools that you're employing, to teach them these concepts. Because I think you'll agree with me, as a nursery student or primary student, you're not really, you haven't been demarcated, you're in arts class, commercial class, or whatever. You're just learning at this moment in time, right?
Yeah, trying to figure it all out.
Do that. Exactly. You're you're exploring, you're doing math, you're doing biology, whether you like it or not. But the essence of what we're trying to capture is their love for learning, one. Because, like you just shut down math, or maybe you did when you were younger. That's not fun.
It's not for me.
We want to enhance. Yeah, we want to make learning fun. We want to make learning exciting and move away from what I call that cram and regurgitating, where you don't necessarily understand it, but you're just cramming it in order to be able to pass a test or quiz, right? Hands up, I know we've all done that, Yeah. But if you make it memorable and if you teach it in a way that maybe, instead of just cramming the definition of photosynthesis, let's find a way of explaining it. Let's make a robot, or, let's make plans using robotic concepts, or let's use some coding to create, or 3D modeling. Let's use that to create a plant, and let's use that to explain the concepts of photosynthesis. So that's what STEM education does, actually, and using innovative tools. It could even be, let's get some cardboards together, let's plant some seeds or whatever, let's watch the plant grow.
So it's really just bringing alive the practical aspect of things to the theoretical aspect of education.
Exactly.
Oh, that is amazing.
So you're applying it to real life application and real life situation. That way, I think you remember more by doing and seeing, right?
True.
So that's really what the concept of STEM education is like. And honestly, like I said, you're building those skills for the future. Because if you fast forward to the future now and work, a lot of those skills are what are essential, isn't it, in the workplace, which employers are complaining that the new wave of people coming into workforce don't have that.
Oh, wow.
And that goes back to how things were taught in school.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Sometimes I feel like growing up, I was scared to say I didn't understand math, for fear of being singled out and just, feeling humiliated and less of a person. However, I just turned to the other subjects, like, the social subjects, the literature and other things, just to make up for my inability. But I want to ask you, let's get personal, Mrs. Yetty, because I know that for you to be the founder of STEMmets, there must have been something on the inside that, spurred you to explore this and to make it, easier for children, perhaps to save them from what a lot of us may have gone through in our formative years in the educational system. Now, I want to know, how did you discover this passion, this innate passion of yours that you have for kids, and just to, simplify the complexity of the educational system and make it very, very pleasant for children? I want to know what spurred you on.
Right. Sure. Okay. So, as a mother, so I'm a mother of two children.
Oh,
and
amazing.
as a mother, yeah. So, what spurred me on was really my children. So I have an older child, or at that time, so we're almost 10 years now in the business. At that time, my son was 10, and he had just come into the Nigerian education system from abroad. And I could see him struggling. And as a child, he was one of those kids that, made things, created things, Lego in his sleep, made his own creation. So he was a student that learns by doing. And so when he started school, I could see that he was struggling because it was more, cram and regurgitate and memorize this. And that wasn't the way he learns. And of course, us mothers now, it's like, am I just going to watch this child deteriorate? Because I could see he wasn't doing well in school anymore. So I started to research. Thank God for internet in those days. So I started researching that what are alternative ways that this child can learn? And I came across the concept of STEM. And I thought, this is fantastic. This works for this boy. So for the first few years, when we first moved back, I used to take them abroad for camp. So I would be like, okay, my children need to do this. So and then on one trip, I thought, look, this is crazy. We're blessed that we're able to jump on a plane and go. But what about the other children in our country? And then while I was traveling, I came across this ad for a program called Bricks for Kids, where they use Lego to teach. And like I said, my son grew up doing all sorts of Lego. And I thought, my gosh, this is fantastic. You're combining something that's a perceived toy. You're combining that and you're using that as the tool to teach. And so that's how I got into the business of STEM education. Like I said, I'm a pharmacist by profession. A life scientist.
Okay.
This is how I jumped into education. So it was out of a personal need and a pain point for me as a parent to find a solution for my own children.
I can bet you feel very much fulfilled when you come across parents who are grateful and kids who are thankful for this initiative, the thoughtfulness. Yes. All right. Now, you know what? Let's open up the phone lines. I know that we have parents who are listening. If you are listening, perhaps we have out of every family. I know one thing about Nigerians, when we have kids, before we ask them, what do you want to be? Someone will say, I want to have a doctor and a lawyer. I want to have an engineer or an accountant, a pharmacist. I want to have, everyone wants those nice, what they call the professional jobs. But if you're listening, it is never too late to discover if indeed your child would do very great in any of these fields. But we should also be happy that we have a way to simplify the complexity of the educational system, bringing to life the practical aspect of the theoretical aspect. And I must say, not to, belittle our educational system, but we focus a lot on the theoretical aspect, right? Maybe in the nearest future that will be, reformed and we can have more of the practical side of things. If you want to join the conversation, you can do so by joining us on X, formerly known as Twitter. Now, our handle is at Lagos Talks 913. Join using the hashtag parenting. Today, my guest, Mrs. Yetty Adedeji, an amazing parent, one who's very thoughtful. And I must say, one thing that is great about this, Mrs. Yetty, is the fact that you didn't just stop because, some people say, oh, so far my kids are fine, then it's okay. You're thinking about the average kid and those who might not be able to, enjoy the benefits that your kids might enjoy. And I must commend you for that. That is very kind of you. If you want to have a chat with Mrs. Yetty here, you can call or you can join via WhatsApp. Now, the WhatsApp number, which you can call on, send a voice note or a message, is 0809 234 5913. And if you want to call on any of the lines, mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, godparents, grandparents, you can call on 0809 222 0913. 0809 234 5913. You can also call the women only line. Of course, you have to be a woman. 0809 191 3913 and 01515 1913. All right. So, Mrs. Jade, for those who are thinking of reasons why, they have to actually take this seriously and, the importance of STEM in the educational system, what would you advise parents and how can they play a role in helping to enhance this? Does it just stop in the educational system within the four walls of a school, or do parents have a part to play, a role to play in all of this?
Oh, for sure. I mean, parents are the first teachers of their children, right?
Okay.
So I think learning at home is key, and even simple STEM things that they can do at home. Participate in your children's learning experiences. Even little things from like cookery, right? Believe it or not, okay, we're baking, you're measuring, that's math, right? You're mixing things, that's a bit of chemistry. So I'm just even breaking down in terms of some home examples. Encourage them and inspire them to ask questions, because that's really what it is. Stay curious, and that, yearning for information and understanding things. Explain things to them, please. Explain things. And then, of course, there's the supplementary education, which is the business that we're in that there are programs the children can do outside of school that isn't in opposition to what they're learning in school, but rather they're acquiring skills to enhance what they're learning, and they can apply those skills in their normal traditional things. So after school programs, summer camps, of course, I'm going to mention that. We just had a fantastic 7-week summer camp.
Oh, really?
And the children really always blew my mind. Yeah, we run about 11 weeks of camp every year. So every half term, every holiday, we're running camps for children. And honestly, the delight in the children's faces, just never cease to amaze me. And it's their weekly camps and the things these children come up with, having been exposed or taught certain concepts and being able to understand and produce content and, replicate things astounds me. When they say children are sponges, honestly, it's not a lie. So I would say engage them in meaningful things, even educational toys, technology, and of course, using it responsibly. The screen time that they're having, is it responsible screen time? Are they just playing games? There are a lot of, ed tech programs now that can help them learn. So let's make sure that whatever FaceTime they're getting with screens or apps or whatever, let it be engaging, let it be meaningful and educational. So I think with technology nowadays, there's a plethora of options for parents and children to be able to acquire these skills.
Thank you so much. You know what? We have a caller on the line. Let's take this call very quickly, then we continue with the conversations. Lagos Talks, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. Who's speaking? Who am I talking to?
Okay, my name is Usiwa from Ikori.
All right, I'm here with Mrs. Jade Adedeji as well. All right, let's hear you. Join the conversation.
Yes, I want to say that she used to take her kids to outside the country, and they actually, because she feel like her kids can do some creativity, so she have to apply by. So that is why she have the opportunity to this level he is now. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, but it's not quite clear. Do you want to ask her a question, or you want to get information about something from her?
No, I can't just appreciate her effort.
Oh, thank you. That is so kind of you. Bless you. All right, thank you. Mrs. Jade, can you hear him?
No, I didn't. I'm so sorry. Would you be able to repeat?
So he basically said he called to appreciate your effort for thinking out of the box, like aside to your children, thinking about other kids who might not have access to the privilege yours have.
Thank you so much.
Because not every kid can go to outside because of finance, and actually she brings it home. So that is why I'm appreciating her. So not about asking her question. There's no question for me. Others can ask, but I don't have a question for her. Just appreciating.
Thank you. You get the bell. Thank you so much. God bless you. You're an amazing individual. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. All right. All right. Have a nice day. Mrs. Jade, so he said that, not everyone can afford the luxury of traveling out, financial capabilities and all that. And so he just called to basically appreciate you. No questions, just appreciation. All right. That is so that's mind blowing. But I tell you, I must commend you. You're doing something amazing. I don't think you should be surprised at the gratitude, but hey, thank you once again. Now we have a message on WhatsApp. Someone here says, good afternoon, Paula and Mrs. Jade, your guest. Please, how can I contact Mrs. Jade for more information? Thanks, Alabi. So Alabi, at the end of the show, she's going to tell us how we can get across to her. Just you have to stay in the loop and listen to the very end. We have a voice note. If you do not mind, let's have a listen to this and then we'll move on to other messages.
Good afternoon. I would like to ask how the STEM works. Thank you.
All right, so Mrs. Jade, someone here, I don't know your name, says he just wants to know how the STEM works. If you can just probably give a recap or a summary to it.
Sure. So as has been mentioned, STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math.
All right.
And it's interdisciplinary way of learning and teaching, taking those 4 pillars, science, technology, engineering, and math, into the concepts of what you're teaching. And so what does that look like? Oftentimes they're project-based, they're hands-on. So an example of a STEM program could be a robotics program where the children have a kit, they have instructions, they're following the instructions to create something, and oftentimes they're solving problems. So it's very hands-on, it's very practical, and the idea behind it is that you are solving a problem or applying, a concept in a practical manner. So that's just one example. But really what is coming out of it is those skills that we mentioned earlier, which I'll mention again. Critical thinking. You're able to think critically. You're able to look at, what do I have in front of me? What is the problem? And how can I come up with a solution with my creation, right? So you're learning critical thinking, problem solving, team building. Oftentimes you have to work in a team. It's not just a lone thing and you're trying to figure it out yourself. You're working with a team. There are contributions from other people. You're working out how to solve this problem. So there's collaborative and team building skills that are being developed there. It may or may not involve technology. Please, let me just point that out.
Okay.
It could be that you're just making things out of material. It could involve digital technology. It's not always. And also to clarify that STEM is not coding. Okay? STEM is not coding. It's an aspect. It could be an aspect from the technology perspective. Because I get that all the time when parents phone, oh, what program are you doing? And so maybe I can say we're doing, UX design, or we're doing, creative arts. They say, oh, no, but I want coding. I want my 2-year-old to learn coding. And we say, fantastic. However, they're building blocks to this thing. It's just like English, right? You phone and say, oh, I want my 2-year-old to start writing essays. But he has to learn his ABCs. He has to learn how to form words. He has to learn all those things first. So, they're building blocks to these things. So we have programs for 3-year-olds. They're not doing the same thing as our 10-year-olds, right? So we have age-appropriate programs, that build on those basic fundamentals, just like your normal school does for STEM. So in essence, that's what it is. Hands-on, project-based, problem-solving, interactive, and practical. That's really what STEM education gives you.
Wow, thank you so much, Mrs. Jade. I know that you, as the founder of STEM Mets here in Nigeria, you must have put in a lot of work. But I want to ask you, off the radar, have you gotten enough support from, educational institutions or perhaps, the government? Have they been responsive or helpful in making this easier for you?
Well,
I like that. That laughter says a lot. The answer lies in it. The answer lies in your laughter. But please just say it as it is. Please just let me know. You can.
Well, having been in this business almost 10 years, we're 10 years next year actually. So we're looking forward to having a celebration.
Hopefully, I get to be invited. I'm still a child.
Oh, for sure, you will be. Of course, it was difficult at the start because anything that's new or novel, people don't really understand. So I found that we actually had to educate our schools. We had to educate our parents, so the education had to start from that perspective, because it's really the schools and parents that can make those informed decisions on behalf of their children, correct? So we had to, educate them. It wasn't easy, but I think slowly that understanding, came in. So we run our programs in schools. Some schools are as after school. After COVID, schools started asking us to run it as a subject because they realized the importance of digital literacy. As we all saw, everything went online, schools went online. They now decided, all our children need to have access to this. So we run in some school as co-curricular. And then, as I said, we run camps. So government-wise, again, I can speak for Lagos State. They've been quite good in terms of their STEAM Up initiative.
Oh, nice.
Over the last 4 years. But of course, it's a funding issue, right? So, having said that, we got a grant from LASRIC recently, and we're actually going to be training 500 teachers within the Lagos State system. Of course, that's not enough, but it's still something. It's a drop in the ocean, but I say it's a drop nevertheless. So, gradually we know that, if the interest is there and the will is there, I'm hopeful that policies will start to see that roll out within our public school system. So, in summary, we're trying to get along and ensure that this is entrenched for the public school system. Yes,
I know it's not easy, but I must commend you. Hopefully, with more awareness, people would see that if they were to, join in on such a great cause, it's like raising a generation of better equipped individuals. And of course, that is the best way to move society forward to where we all dream, we want Nigeria to be. But thank you once again, Mrs. Yetty Adedeji. It's been very refreshing finding this out and just knowing that my brain was not incapable. I probably just had that phobia because, I was taught by, hey, I love Ghanaians, but my math teachers for a long time were Ghanaians, and they used to scare me. How to flow. So I just wanted to play safe. I was the average Jane, at least 50 to 70. So far, I'm not repeating, I'm good. But I never just aspired to be good. I just felt like, I'll make up with the arts. And here we are. At least I know how to count money, so that's fine. But Mrs. Yetty, thank you so much.